It's time for our nursing tip of the week, and in this week's tip, we're going to be talking about setting up suction. Setting up suction seems like such a basic skill, and I guess it kind of is, but it's one of those things that if you don't really understand it and know what you're doing, then you can run into some issues. First, let's cover the components of setting up suction. Most hospital rooms have suction that is connected to the wall. There are basically two main components to setting up suction. One is the suction that is actually in the wall where you control the power and if it's intermittent versus continuous. And then the second component is right here, which is the actual canister itself where all of your secretions or whatever you're collecting goes into that. There are a couple different versions of this same wall section. They all do the same thing. Doesn't really matter. You just may need to look into it a little more of how you control it. But on this one here, in order to turn your suction up, you're going to turn your nozzle and you're going to see this little white guy here adjust and go up or down when you're turning your nozzle. I will say if you see that your suction is turned all the way up and you're trying to turn it down and it's like not going back down, if you disconnect your suction really quick, like pop this little red guy off of your canister, it like releases all of the suction pressure or tension or whatever you want to call it, and you'll see that nozzle kind of go back down. So sometimes when there's so much suction, it takes a while for that nozzle to go back down when you're trying to decrease your suction level. At the top here is where you control intermittent versus continuous. You just kind of push the little knob over, and then there's also an off feature as well. It's important to understand when you would want continuous suction versus when you'd want intermittent suction. Continuous suction is used for like hooking up your yonker or yonkower. You guys can debate in the comments however you want to say it. They're all the same. It's also used for chest tubes, or if you have suction hooked up to your ET tube in order to do like inline suctioning, we'll usually have that on continuous as well. Intermittent suction is used more for things like OG tubes, NG tubes, where you're intermittently wanting to suck out some of the GI contents, but you don't want to continuously do it because it can, one, cause some damage in the stomach, and two, you don't just need to continuously suction out all the GI contents. Your wall suction component is going to connect to the canister. Here's a better image of just the suction canister component. When you're hooking up your suction canister, you want to use one of these disposable canisters that actually goes in this plastic kind of cup. You never want to put secretions or any yucky goopies in the actual cup itself. You want all your secretions to go directly into the disposable canister. And in order to have it set up appropriately, you're going to need to have your suction little nozzle connected to this component down here. You can kind of see here how this little component is going from here up to the suction canister. You're going to want this red guy to plug in to your disposable suction canister. And then all of these little top parts here, you're going to want to plug them up and make sure there's a good seal around the ring here. Like push it in, you're going to hear it snap in. Then you can connect your suction tubing to this little L-shaped guy right here. And to that, you can connect whatever, your yonker, your chest tube, your OG. When you turn your suction on, you're going to hear this shh sound. But if you have everything sealed appropriately, you really shouldn't hear that sound. If your suction is not working and you've checked everything, the nozzle seems like it's working, everything's plugged in, secured, tightened, this little guy here turns your suction on and off as well. And so sometimes this is in the off mode. All you do is turn it and it'll usually say on or off. These suction canisters, since they have secretions in them, they should go like in your red biohazard bin when you're all done with them and exchanging them out. I also like to tape on the outside of these in order to appropriately mark how much of whatever we're measuring is in this disposable canister. Don't use Sharpie or marker just on these canisters. Yes, you can wipe it off, but people mark on them all the time. Get a piece of tape. That way you're not destroying the canister. And I think I've covered pretty much everything about suction. If you have any other questions, let me know.